For Amy Lindberg, serving the United States has been a lifelong calling.
My experience in the military spans about 26 years. It's active and reserve combined. I started in Camp Lejeune in the early 80s. It was about 1984 to 88. I was living right there on base around the corner from where I worked, which was the Navy hospital. And I worked in the basement at the hospital because I was a dietitian and a food service director. I worked there, I lived there, I had my first child there. Living on Camp Lejeune on the base was wonderful, and it's no surprise that I lived in an area called Paradise Point. It was beautiful. We had a golf course there. I could jog at lunchtime, for instance, and jog home or go to the dock, and at the time I would swim. It's a community. It's a nice little, like Beaver Cleaver back in the 50s, 60s American dream lifestyle.
But beneath the surface lay a hidden danger in the water supply.
When I was in Lejeune the first time, in the late 80s, there was a problem with the water, but I was oblivious to it, quite frankly. I was new and young into the military. I was drinking the water. I was working in a place where I was drinking the water all day, bathing in it, swimming in it. I learned that the Camp Lejeune waters contained TCE, which most likely contributed to my Parkinson's diagnosis. And upon that realization, I was in disbelief, Didn't know until quite recently that problem could affect people like me.
For Amy, the worst effects of the water contamination took 3 decades to appear.
In 2017, my husband and I had retired from Northern Virginia. We were both very much involved in the military. He was a Marine officer, I was Navy officer. I had some cognitive issues. I wasn't able to stay on task and finish sentences sometimes, and I was distraught, I was nervous. I went and I saw a neuropsychologist on my own.
When Amy's diagnosis was confirmed, she was prepared.
My reaction upon being diagnosed and told right there by my movement disorder specialist was a sense of relief. I knew what it was. It was definitely Parkinson's. It wasn't 6 other things that could have far worse outcomes in my mind. I knew what I had, and I could prepare myself for that. I researched and I found Rocksteady Boxing, and I found my local chapter, my organization. I went to it, and not only did I go to it, but we basically tripled the size of it the first year, because I went, my people went, and we got excited. We started to build a teamwork. Rocksteady Boxing is a lot of that. You get in there, you're going fast, you're going hard, and it's more exhausting than you would think, because when I look at people doing it, especially some of the people with Parkinson's, because it doesn't look like they're moving very fast, but they're punching their hardest, and I do too.
With regular exercise, Amy's symptoms have actually improved.
With a little bit of medication and a lot more support, I actually started to do better, and it was really something, because over time I've actually reduced my medication. People don't get better with this disease, but actually I'm doing quite well. I mean, it's a tremendous good news story.
Throughout this journey, Amy's husband Brad has been her mainstay.
My husband and I are retired. Our kids live in the area, so we spend a lot of time going to the beach, biking around. On occasion, I cook. Mostly my husband enjoys that. My husband is a great supporter. He comes to boxing when I go. He reminds me if I'm slacking. He's good about that. I know it doesn't seem like it. People would never guess that I'm a slacker, but on occasions, I get down. I have the blues. I feel sorry for myself. Well, my husband won't take that as a complete answer. He'll push me further, and he'll make sure I'm getting up and out. We like beekeeping. Beekeeping it's not a business for us, it's a hobby. We enjoy just keeping the bees under production, pollinating, expanding the tribe. We have 10 hives, and it takes a bit of our time, but we enjoy it.
With time now to reflect on her experiences, Amy wonders why more isn't being done to ban TCE and other chemicals that are likely to cause Parkinson's.
I am astounded, quite frankly, that these chemicals are still being used today as frequently, as uniformly as they have been in the past when they've been proven to be neurotoxic. And if they're neurotoxic, what do we need to do to stop this? I was at Lejeune. I was breathing it in, breathing in plumes of vapor, TCE, drinking that water with TCE, bathing in it, just consumed by an environment that was so pretty, but yet so toxic.
As she continues her journey, Amy wants to keep serving the United States in a new way.
We, with the disease, need to make our voices heard, just like with Mothers Against Drunk Driving, or those that had HIV or breast cancer, for instance. And I would encourage anyone in the community to make sure that their legislatures, their elected officials know that this is not right. This is not okay to use these products anymore. People are suffering. So I think that we need to get a grassroots approach and follow the steps to make sure that our voices are heard so we can change the tide against Parkinson's.
Veterans like Captain Lindberg are at increased risk for developing Parkinson's disease. In the United States alone, over 100,000 veterans have Parkinson's disease, and they're at increased risk for at least 3 reasons. The first is that many, including the late General Colin Powell, were exposed to pesticides like Agent Orange that increase their risk for Parkinson's disease. The second is that many veterans are exposed to chemicals like trichloroethylene. And the third reason veterans are at increased risk for Parkinson's disease is that they're more susceptible to head trauma. I think about 8 million veterans have experienced a traumatic brain injury, and these traumatic brain injuries increase individuals' risk for Parkinson's disease. Captain Lindberg served at the Marine base Camp Lejeune near where she lives in Wilmington, North Carolina. And from 1953 until 1987, the water that Marines and their family members drank, bathed in, and used for cooking and washing was contaminated with a chemical called trichloroethylene, or TCE, along with other hazardous chemicals. And the Marines knew about it, and they didn't do anything. They covered up the contamination that was affecting their own members of their own community for uncertain reasons. And this has been well documented by investigations by the U.S. House of Representatives and the National Academy of Medicine. But much more needs to be done to bring justice to the million Marines, their family members, and civilians who worked at Camp Lejeune during the 25 years, at least, where their water was contaminated.